Hello everyone. I recently got involved in a discussion regarding Battlefield 2042 as well as Call of Duty. I'll explain a bit here in just a few minutes, but this recording is going to focus on that because the conversation I felt resulted in a pretty interesting conversation. It's also very rare that you can have a civil conversation regarding games, especially when it's Call of Duty. Well, yeah, I guess. But anyways, let's get on with it. Okay, so some background to the conversation. I was having a conversation regarding the state of Call of Duty with a couple of people that I know. I was talking about how the state of Call of Duty is in shambles, and a lot of content creators from both YouTube and Twitch are saying that they will move to Battlefield 2042 once it releases. They tell me that it's not a Battle Royale, so they don't see it, but I don't think that it really matters if it's a Battle Royale or not because of the state of the game. The people are just looking for a massive shooter that is not plagued with the issues that Call of Duty has. That was the summary of the conversation, but obviously, talking about all this required a pretty lengthy conversation that I think lasted almost 3 hours. It was quite interesting for me. So let me try to break it down. I won't give you the full 3 hours, but let's try to break it down. Okay, so let me talk about my experiences with Call of Duty, particularly Warzone. So, my experiences with Call of Duty weren't really the best because, to me, I really enjoyed the aspect of trying to figure out guns, the best loadouts, and things like that. There were certain times where I disagreed with some of the content creators that do this. I disagreed in what I felt was a civil and respectful manner. I presented the data to show where I felt, that the disagreement was valid. Unfortunately, even with all that data and all my valid arguments, I just was never taken seriously. That's one of the biggest issues with Call of Duty right now, is just how the community is. It's not just, the hackers and cheaters that are ruining the game, but it's also this very elitist community. This community that has the mindset that unless you do things a certain way, you don't matter to them. That's just, unfortunately, how a lot of the community works. And it's not me complaining about it, it's just the truth. I recognize that that's why I never really got anywhere when I was doing all these discussions regarding the guns. It's because the Call of Duty community has really a very narrow mindset when it comes to the game. I want to show you just a quick example to show you where I'm going with this, so you can see that I was coming from a good place. So let me switch over. Okay, so here is a comparison straight from True Game Data. This is apparently the website people love to quote now, so I will go and show you it. So I would like to point out something very, very interesting here. This is upper torso time to kill. So if you'll notice, there is a huge gap between these four guns. If you'll notice, the four guns are the Dragunov, Swiss, Car, and then the FAL. Look where the Dragunov and the FAL end up on this chart for upper torso time to kill. They end up at the very top. As a matter of fact, if you hover over this little dot, and I'll do it for you, look at the FAL's time to kill. It's 0.511. Okay, that's the FAL. Let's look at the Dragunov. 0.316. Okay, to put this in perspective, the AMAX before its nerf, if my memory is correct, it was sitting somewhere around 0.478 or somewhere around there. The most recent nerf took it to, I think, 0.588 time to kill, but the point is that these two guns have a faster time to kill than the AMAX. On top of that, they have more range. Here's another interesting thing to note with this chart. And this is well known. This is not just True Game Data's information. Plenty of people are aware of this. But notice how flat the lines are. There's a reason these lines are very flat. It's because they don't have damage drop-off. which means that these guns do their full damage at any range, assuming you can hit. Now, the FAL might be the hardest to hit out of this bunch because it requires 5 shots to knock somebody with 3 armor plates. 5 shots with the FAL can take a little bit of skill, if you will, and the right attachments, of course. One of the many mistakes that was made during the FAL meta was people removing the stock on it. Removing the stock increases the recoil, and you don't want to do that with something like the FAL, especially because of the fact that even before it got changed to this no damage drop-off, it had a 55-meter range. And I remember because I've done recordings on this. So the FAL before it got changed was 55 meters effective range, which was more than most guns at that time. The only thing that could challenge a FAL at that range was the Odin SA-7, because the SA-7's 46-meter base range. Or at least it was. It's got changed as well. So there's just a quick summary of what you see on the screen and what I want to use for my example. So you can see that even with all the data in front of you, people aren't using these guns. And the reason is very simple. It's because most people in the Call of Duty community are of the mindset that if the pros aren't using it, it isn't worth it to them. Another reason too, although there's probably more than just these two, but another reason is that people tried the ground loot version of this, called it a dumpster fire, and then never went back to it. That's how the Call of Duty community works. They're too judgmental, and they're too quick to dismiss, not just guns, but also the people within the community. It doesn't matter how right you are with the data. It doesn't matter how good of a counter argument you provide. At the end of the day, they only care about the name. That's how the Call of Duty community works. Not just with guns, but also with tournaments. Because if you'll notice, a good chunk, and I'm not saying all of them, but a good chunk of the tournaments in Call of Duty are based on your name because they're invite only. There's only a handful of Call of Duty tournaments right now, whether it be Warzone or another one, that do have qualifiers to get you in so that you can be a complete random coming in. That's the state of Call of Duty's community. Now let's talk about the balance side of things. That's where things get even more screwy. One of the things that I think has driven me nuts, and probably many other people, is that they buff a gun, it becomes too strong, and then they nerf the crap out of it. Or it's the other way around. It's so strong they have to nerf it. But the problem is, every time they nerf or buff, they do it way too much. And then they swing too hard one direction. Case in point with the AMAX and MAC. I mean, they basically nerfed in the ground. Most people will tell me, oh, they only changed one bullet. But here's the thing, is when you look at the data, changing even the bullet damage by 1 point is enough to throw the time to kill off by a considerable margin, because you have to do the math, right? It's 1 less damage on each bullet in a 45 round magazine in the case of the AMAX. So, changing 1 damage in 45 rounds, that's a pretty big math number to be dealing with, right? So that's the problem, is there's no good balance with how they nerf or buff something. It's always one extreme or the other. Either they nerf it too extreme or they buff it way too extreme. There's no in between with the two. Because of this, it's literally like every season you have to change a gun to, be at whatever point you need to be. And so this whole back and forth thing is quite annoying, because then it's just kind of like, well, you have to level up so much guns just to be ready for, one season after another, and that's not great. Of course, there's other issues too. We can go and quickly mention the fact that it's not a well-optimized game. It takes a huge amount of file size from your drive and all this other crap that goes on with it. It's a nightmare to stream. Warzone, there's another one that seems to be an issue with people. So the list goes on. I keep going on about Call of Duty, but I think you get my point with it. So let's focus on Battlefield 2042. So yes, Battlefield 2042 is not a Battle Royale, of course, or at least it's not right now, maybe they'll do a Battle Royale later date because Battle Royales are becoming insanely popular. Just look at the fact that there was the announcement with the Division Southland or something like that. I'd have to go back and look, but there was a Division game being announced, and people were saying that would possibly be Battle Royale. But if that one's not a Battle Royale, there's also Blood Hunt. Apparently, Vampire the Masquerade is getting into Battle Royales now. So, yeah, with how popular Battle Royales are, I wouldn't be surprised if Battlefield 2042 tries to do that. Maybe not right now, but in the future. But for now, it's going to be just Battlefield. And so, yeah, it's not going to be a Battle Royale for now, and that's okay. I think for a lot of people, because they're just looking for a massive shooter that isn't plagued with a lot of the problems that I was just mentioning. I think that's why there's going to be more content creators moving away from Call of Duty and into that game, because it will likely be better than Call of Duty, assuming they do well. Knowing that, the discussion devolved into kind of my concerns with that. So my main concern is greed. I've mentioned this in a prior recording, but I point out that the pre-orders, just on the face of it, look like greed is possibly coming to Battlefield 2042. It's not a surprise to me when, you've got EA or another company involved, but the reason I think it looks like greed, for those who didn't watch that recording, is because if you look at the Gold and Ultimate Edition pre-order, you get guaranteed access to the beta and guaranteed 1 week of early retail play, meaning you'll have a chance to get ahead of other players. And of course, you get some other things with those pre-orders, such as skins. So the fact that they've got all this stuff going on just makes it seem like greed is going to happen. If you look at the history of Battlefield, I think that it's, I should say history and current. I think that those are additional reasons to be concerned with the possibility of greed happening. Right now, Battlefield 4 servers are overloaded from people being super hyped and, looking to get used to Battlefield, I guess you could say. And then also, you have to look at Battlefield 5, was it? Yeah, a lot of people did not like Battlefield 5, their World War II shooter. There were so many people, even in the content creator world, that were saying Battlefield 1 was superior to 5, and I can kind of see their reasonings for it. So it seems to me that the community's point of view on 1 and 5 is that 1 was superior, and 5 just didn't really do that well. And that's really unfortunate because, Battlefield has a pretty strong fan base. So that if that's the viewpoint of a lot of people, and I don't know if it is, but if it is, then they let down their fans. So they've got another thing to worry about here, is they also have to do better than prior Battlefields, and they will have to do better than other shooters from this year. So this is just adding to my reasons why I'm concerned about greed, is because they know that they're going to have to do really well. They're probably going to be able to pull a bunch of people just from the fact it's a Battlefield title, and also because of the way Call of Duty is right now. So that's kind of like my summary of the whole discussion. Now, whether or not people agree with me is perfectly fine. I understand everybody has their own viewpoints. I just ask that you do so respectfully. I hate it when people come flying in with, elitist mentalities or, oh, you're a copycat or some other BS. Just get to know me and you'll find out very quickly. I love having a discussion. And I love doing it very civilly. It may not seem like it at times, but I assure you I'm civil at all times, even when somebody's a complete a-hole to me. So I would be interested to see what you all think. I've laid out the summary of the discussion I had, my viewpoints. Now I want to hear yours. Thanks for listening.